taking time out on a chilly Monday evening to join us here. We are announcing our shortlist for the 13th Television for Environment Global Sustainability Film Awards. And this year is the 40th year of our formation, Television for Environment. We'll hear more about what we do as the evening progresses. One of the things that we are very happy and proud is that the relationship that we've managed to gather with UCL for the last 2 years, and we want to build on this over the going a number of years. And we're very happy that Professor Monica Lockenpaul, who has been instrumental in building this relationship for us, along with Serena Narula, they've been very old friends, and so they have managed to forge this relationship for us, and we hope that we can build on this relationship, and this is just a start. But to kick off the evening, I'd like to call upon Serena Narula. She's the president of TVE, and also the founder for the awards. Serena has been a philanthropist and has been very much involved with a lot of charitable work over the last 20, 30 years. And she has been involved with TVE for the last 15 years. So, Serena Narula, we have a few minutes.
Now just to say thank you to all of you, the next generation of change makers here at UCL. Your passion, creativity and commitment to a sustainable future inspires us all. We look forward to celebrating the achievements of these remarkable filmmakers with you at the awards. And thank you UCL for hosting this event.
I'd like to now call upon Professor Monica Lockenpaul. She's an academic researcher, clinician, broadcaster, science communicator, and also a poet. She's currently the Professor of Integrated Community Child Health at UCL and Great Ormond Street Institute of Child Health, and the Honorary Consultant Pediatrician at Whittington Health NHS Trust.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining us on this wonderful evening, and to TVE and particularly to Serena. So over the years, we've been thinking about how we could come together further, how we could really engage our students in many, many different ways. And this event last year and today has again given us the opportunity to do that. But why is it important? Well, it's important because all of our students need to enter the world being reflective, thinking, but also taking evidence and the science you produced in a way that you can take it to society and communicate it in the world around us. We at UCL have many wonderful academics. We create a lot of data and we create a lot of papers, and it's wonderful. We are known for being powerful researchers in the world today. But research that sits on a shelf is not really much use to anybody. Research has to create change. And through filmmaking, through communication, through the media, this is how we can get all of that evidence to the place where it needs to take action, and that's what it's about taking action. So it's a privilege and an honour, and thank you very much for hosting this at UCL, and we hope that we can do many more events together, and we hope that as time goes on, the students will become more and more mobilised, and you will also want to take part in these wonderful events that we are holding. So thank you again for choosing us, and thank you for joining us, Serena.
Thank you. So we'll now move on to our first category. This is the Young Filmmakers category, and to announce the first Young Filmmakers category, we have with us Professor Mark Maslin. He's a Professor of Earth System Science at the University at the UCL, also Royal Society Industrial Fellowship, Executive Director of Risatec Limited, and he's a Vice Provost for the UCL's Grand Challenge theme for climate crisis. He's also a leading scientist with particular expertise in past global and regional climatic change, and has published over 175 papers in journals such as the Science, Nature, and the Lancet. And he's a regular speaker at large industry and public platforms. Professor.
So thank you for that very kind introduction, and I have to say it's interesting to follow two wonderful and amazing people. So you may have heard that I'm a Professor of Earth System Science, and most of you are scratching your head going, what's that? So I'm very lucky. I study climate change in the past, the present, and the future. But my most important role at UCL is I'm the Vice Provost for the UCL Climate Crisis Grand Challenge. And the great thing about UCL is 15 years ago we set up grand challenges because we knew that society had great challenges ahead, and we UCL were part of that development of knowledge, but I would say more importantly, wisdom about how to deal with them. Now, of course, challenges change, and we are now in the new set, and I'm doing climate crisis, and you'll be amazed. I've been so lucky because UCL's not like other universities, as you will know, because the boundaries between disciplines are a little bit more fluid than other places. So I have the great pleasure of working with artists in the Slade School of Fine Art. Okay, I wish they'd made it a nicer title. Laws, engineering, medicine, and I've been very fortunate to be part of the Lancet Countdown report, where we bring together hundreds of colleagues from around the world looking at global health and climate change. One short film can literally change the world if you get the right voice, the right moment, and the right audience. And I've always wanted to say this, and these are the shortlist.
Algunos años para atrás había mucha problemática porque algo atacaba a los animales de traspatio. La gente de la comunidad decían que pues el tigre se comía a sus animales, que el tigre, que el puma, no sabían ni qué, ¿verdad? Decidimos poner algunas cámaras trampa y ver qué estaba sucediendo. Era un jaguar. De eso nace el proyecto Jaguar. Es la conservación de la especie y ver cómo ha progresado entre el ser humano y el jaguar.
Söğütün bağlarında kurup kaldı. Ağıyla yani ağlandık da elinin bağlarındayım. Balık hissediyor. Bunu bu vakti körüp durup gözünü aşırı uğruna üstüne eğip sürer. Bizi atalarlar sonra olsun zar giriyen cınay.
Ben balıkçılık kәсібіне 1972 жылдан бастап араластым балық. Бұл уақытта теңіз толып болып тұрған уақыт, теңіз көп, судың көп уақыты. Һәм бұл уақытта балығам көп, сол балықшылыққа қызығам. Әзір табиғаттан бір сол жоқ. Әзір жоқ. Әзір онdan үміттеп қайдым. Оданың құдіреті толса.
One of the biggest problems, even it is not that Aral Sea was shrieked and disappeared, but we are drinking poison, really not good water. It's not criminal, but it should be criminal, has to be criminal. And then we will change our attitude to the water.
All this life, nature, comes from the water that Amu Darya provides. Amu Darya has been nurturing this nation, this little town, and this country for centuries. And I want my other generations to see this river.
If we cannot save such a small natural object, how we will save the planet? This is a question. That means the problem is not only Aral Sea, it's problem all of the planet. We cannot negotiate to save such a small object, and then we are trying to save the planet.
Ang abaka nga espesyal sa amon as tribo Tiboli. Wala pa kami natawo, abaka na ang una.
Kasaklando kurunga naman laando gunon agafat batanala.
skills sang amon nga mga ninuno. Kay mula sa abaka, sila lang ang mag-invento sang ilang mga design through their dreams. Tungod sa climate change, dako gid ang apektado sa abaka.
All these abrupt changes has great impact on the growth of abaka, particularly for the production of fiber.
Ko kedaram buluk meru mutok engkum mulap ipa getahom talo himon petang ingkom apa ka ayalang ka emnang
पहले जैसे वो they used to chase the birds with catapults. Even today we can see them chasing the birds, but not with catapults, with binoculars. वो बढ़िया लगता है.
अगर हम फ्यूचर जनरेशन में इन्वेस्ट कर रहे हैं, उनको सिखा रहे हैं कि हमें अपना जंगल क्यों बचाना है, हमारे अपना वाइल्ड लाइफ क्यों बचाना है, तो वो मैसेज बहुत देर तक बच्चों और जब बच्चे बड़े भी होंगे तो उनके पास ये मैसेज रहेगा.
People are quite aware of what tourism actually is, and responsible tourism भी वो लोग का दिमाग में घुस रहा है अभी. यहाँ में स्पेशलिटी जैसे तो हो गया नेचर लिंक टूरिज्म, यहाँ क्योंकि यहाँ पे रेयर स्पीसीज ऑफ बर्ड्स एंड बटरफ्लाइज ये सब मिलता है. इटली ट्रस्ट के थ्रू लोग आ रहे हैं, रिसर्चर्स आ रहे हैं, बर्डर्स आ रहे हैं, साइंटिस्ट भी आ रहे हैं.
My name is Azad Ayub, and I am the founder and principal of Azad Ayub Limited and Azad Ayub Properties Limited, and in fact the whole group of companies that are involved with our projects. And I've been a firm supporter of the television for the environment, and have been so for many years. In this year, I am supporting the category of transforming society. This category emphasizes the need for new ideas and solutions to help us enhance the way we live in a sustainable manner. We generally support green issues in the real estate sector, and we have won many awards in this process. I'm now happy to announce that the shortlisted films in this category are
Well, it was just out of the blue actually. I had no idea in 1995 that I would be starting a social enterprise called Kumbaya with women stitching clothes. I still don't believe it at times. What was I thinking? Shubha, one of the 10 friends who founded Samaj Pragati Sahyog, and I were working on top of an earthen dam on a very hot summer day. And suddenly, while throwing headloads of mud, the women asked, "Will you teach us how to stitch?" We actually imagined at that time that it would be a great way to bring women together, to talk about land rights and reproductive health and equality. So Kumbaya started with a box full of scrap, a book on patchwork left behind by a friend, and 3 sewing machines, all borrowed. Kumbaya is about transforming and strengthening women's lives through the power of design.
Ka 2015, batho ba noka ba Sepunga le Impalila ba ile ba thaya lefelo la ntlha la tshomarelo ya tlhapi mo Namibia. batlhokomedi ba tlhapi ba Sekunga le Impalila ba tlhokomela dinoka, ba gapa matloa a seng ka fa molaong le go bega batshwara tlhapi ba ba seng ka fa molaong kwa balaoding. Tshwaro ya tlhapi ya tshenyo e ile tlase fela thata. Tlhapi e tsosologile ebile yo oketsegile. Morafi o dirisana le beng ba mafelo a bojanala go ngoka bajanala gore ba tle go bona dinoka. Ka jalo batho ba noka ba sologelwa molemo ke bojanala jo.
We'll be looking at solar power, power from the sun, in our next video. But another natural energy source is the power of the tides, and it comes mostly from another heavenly body, our moon. The moon's gravity affects Earth's oceans, giving us tides twice a day. But how do you capture that tidal energy? Well, this amazing craft is the Orbital O2, the most powerful tidal turbine in the world. It's over 70 meters long, and each of its 2 huge turbines rotates in the tide, generating a megawatt of electricity, enough to power 2,000 homes on the nearby Scottish Orkney Islands. And how about this? Swedish company Minesto have come up with this cool idea. A kind of underwater kite tethered to the ocean floor that moves in a figure of 8 in the tidal current, with an onboard turbine again generating electricity. It's estimated that more than 10% of the UK's energy could one day come from these and other ingenious tidal devices.
Our next category, which we are due to announce the shortlist for, is the Greener Living Short Film category. This category is awarded to a film under 30 minutes that best inspires to adopt nature-based solutions to mitigate the threat of climate change and biodiversity loss. To announce this category, I'd like to call upon our very old friend from TV, Cheryl Campbell. Cheryl has been, for a very long time, has been the head of television environment since 2003, and then she left in 2018, 19. She started her journalism career in newspapers, then moved to BBC Radio, and from 1988 to 1992, she was a senior reporter on the UK-wide breakfast program TV AM in 1992. Cheryl moved to Christian Aid as well, and then in one of the UK's leading aid agencies, she played a significant role in developing its cutting-edge approach to raising awareness on developmental issues. Cheryl, if you could please announce that.
Thanks very much indeed to TVE for inviting me back. As Karma explained, I was the Chief Executive of TVE from 2003 to 2019. And I thought just very briefly I wanted to tell you a bit of the history of TVE. So TVE is a charity that was set up in 1984. So this is our 40th anniversary. And TVE was set up by a combination of groups, interesting combination, the United Nations Environment Programme, WWF UK, and Central Television, which is now part of ITV. And they came together because they believed, and it's just wonderful to hear Monica saying how she believes that film needs to be at the heart of everything. They believed that film was absolutely needed to be at the heart of everything. And that through film, you could inspire change for a greener and a fairer world. So that was the purpose, that was why TV was set up in 1984. Initially, it was very much about producing films, broadcast films in a world. For some of you, this may be a shock, and for other of you, it's just a reminder that there were no mobile phones in those days. There were just terrestrial TV channels. There was no internet. It was go out, film it, bring it back, edit it. It was a very different world. It was about broadcast. Then as TV moved into the early noughties, when I joined, we were looking at this new phenomenon, streaming, YouTube. What a great opportunity. We were very, very fortunate to receive a fantastic grant at the time, which allowed us to start trialling working with young YouTube filmmakers, and we were able to move very successfully into online, working with young online filmmakers while continuing to produce films for broadcast and for other purposes. And we knew, in amongst all of this, we knew that there were actually companies and businesses that were beginning to trial some really interesting sustainability work. It's difficult now, I mean, many companies, everybody really speaks about sustainability now, but back in 2012, that wasn't the case. People weren't really talking about, most businesses maybe had a sustainability report, you had to really look for it on a website, or it was printed and it was put somewhere else. But we did know that there were a few companies that were really doing good work, but they weren't necessarily talking about it. If they were talking about it, as I say, it was in a report somewhere. We really wanted them to start sharing what they were doing globally with other companies, so that best practice could be shared. I'm absolutely delighted to say that at that point, we met Serena Narula, the driving force behind the awards. We came together and we launched the TVE Global Sustainability Film Awards in 2012. The key role of the awards is to share best practice globally. Best practice in businesses, best practices in organisations, to share as widely as possible what people are doing. Thank you to UCL for hosting us. It's absolutely amazing and wonderful to be here this evening. And I'm delighted to announce the shortlist for the Greener Living Award.
California lost 2 major carbon sinks that absorbed the impacts of climate change within 5 years. One on land, one underwater. Take a deep breath. Steady your mind. We will face this reality together. This is the changed climate you've heard about on the news. It is here, now, not decades away. The loss of our great forests and all that they provide is the challenge ahead of us. Yet, there's reason to be hopeful. People from all walks of life are uniting to develop solutions for restoring the abundance of kelp forests around the world. Right now, flying over our heads, satellites are capturing real-time information about the health of kelp forests to guide the restoration of our most vulnerable forests. Right now, swimming beneath the sea divers are removing urchin from urchin barrens to create space for kelp to return to its historic strongholds. Right now, scientists are recovering sea stars and developing kelp spore banks to help restore healthy and resilient kelp forests after future fires.
Globally, the climate impact of food waste is mind-boggling. If it were a country, it'd be the world's 3rd biggest emitter of greenhouse gases after China and the United States.
There are so many people that are literally starving now in this country, and there's all this wasted food that could be feeding people.
If you've got more trees where you can have more deer, perhaps venison could be that alternative to put on the table.
Once you can make that into something like a sausage roll or a burger, it's tasty and it's got the right texture, I think that people would be quite happy to eat these insects.
帅弟，不用给他那么痛，谢谢。帅弟，
甩给。
直接摸它、喂它、抱它。现在年轻人很少这样子，大人也很少这样子。那个互动其实也就是一种能量啊，那个动物也可以感觉得到。
甩给呀，甩给。哦，我这样打，你就 go go go，OK， 3、2、1。哇，你好乖哦！哇，我们太神了，这椰子一定有魔法。我们来试一次。天啊，结束！谢谢。因为他们很可爱，然后他们也很会玩耍，就是不像你们这些大人一样很懒，都不陪我们玩。
I grew up in a farming family. We produce mainly fruits, pineapple, banana. We always love to eat pineapple, but we didn't see the prospect of pineapple leaves. Even after working 10 years in textile industry, I didn't see that pineapple leaves can be a good textile material. Finally, I realized everybody is talking about climate change. I see there is a solution.
Turning farm waste into sustainable clothes is absolutely part of the fashion revolution. And what we really need to do is to see value in everything. There is no waste.
Over the past month and a half, our shortlisting jury members have been going through over 85 films to come to these shortlisted films. The shortlisted jury was 16 of them across various different countries, and they come from various fields. They're not just filmmakers, but they're also sustainability experts, they're also research scientists, they're also medical professionals, or also could be just regular bankers as well. We have one member who is also a banker. The next category, which we're going to announce, is the Women and Girls in Sustainability. This category we introduced it just about 2 years back, where we wanted to celebrate the work of women on camera and off camera as well, and also to bring them as champions, as champions, as role models for young people to look up to. And to announce this category, I'd like to once again call on Serena Narula to announce this category.
Before I announce this category, I just want to say there's one more category which we are not talking about today, which is the Founders Award. So every year we give a Founders Award to a full feature-length film. And this year the entries have been amazing. They are all, I'm talking about them now because they are about sustainability and they are about women empowerment. And all 4 of them that have been recommended are their Oscar entries for those countries. The one from Canada is 500 Days. It's about sustainability. It's about a journey across Canada. The one submitted from Kenya is called Navi. That's a film that has, it's about child rights. The film from India, if you all know, is called Lapata Ladies. It's about women empowerment. The film from Britain, I forget the name, is also about women empowerment. It's made by an Indian-British filmmaker. So what I'm trying to say is that even Oscars are being considered for women empowerment and sustainability, which is the right way to go, I guess. So today I'm here to announce the category of Women, Girls in Sustainability, a Global Perspective film. And the films are
Cornwall has an incredible superpower because it is the best place in the whole country for something that could ultimately provide many of us with low-cost, fossil fuel-free heat direct from the earth.
We're generating electricity from the sun and we're producing nutrient-dense quality meats, kind of a win-win, really.
The idea is that one neighbour can sell their energy to the other.
People can sit in front of a lovely fire and have a glass of wine. You can't do that with an air source heat pump so easily.
It's nice to have a view, but the bigger picture here is that if we're going to halt climate change, we absolutely have to move away from fossil fuels.
You can skill up people within the local community to fulfil some of the new green jobs that will be needed to help us transition, and that's all really positive for Cornwall.
And then one of the reasons is I moved here was like my kids, that park right behind. I was like, oh, that's so awesome. My kids are gonna have a park right behind them, and I didn't know I was actually killing them. It's one of the most polluted area codes in the nation. My son was having bloody noses. My daughter has the migraines, and my mom got sick on me, and I got sick. These things that we smell every day and every night and every morning, that's what's making us sick. A lot of people's like, why don't we just move? Well, we can't afford to move, one. We end up in places like Commerce City because they push us out of these gentrified areas and we move up where it's cheaper to live.
There is regular people doing the work for this election.
Hey neighbor, did you vote already? ¿Sí votó? After 100 years of environmental racism and environmental injustices, this community's fed up. We're done. You know, I think right now we're waking up.
Because I'm not alone. No estoy sola. I want to let my leaders know that. I want to let all the polluters know that I'm not alone anymore, okay? No estoy sola.
We have a lot of parties, right? There's a lot of Latinos here. We love to party. Sometimes we get out of hand, you know? They put the music, the banda's getting down to 3 o'clock in the morning. The neighbor's like, knock, knock, hey, can you guys turn it down? And the neighbor turns it up. I mean, what kind of neighbor is that? This is what they're doing, right? Every time they have an opportunity, they want to pollute more. They want to kill us some more.
In the early hours of the following day, Carla is called to a gruesome scene.
As I said, they predated some of
She
them.
uses the opportunity to communicate directly to her audience.
So these are the victims of rat predation. Now, in this particular case, these hatchlings were sitting ducks because they were drawn to this light, so they would have just been running around in circles under this light and not going anywhere. So the rats didn't have to work too hard to get them because they were just circling the lights like fish in a barrel. We need to do better because this is our country. These are our turtles. So they're all of our responsibility. It's not just the responsibility of the Barbados Sea Turtle Project, but it is, to my mind, a national responsibility. We as individuals, we as citizens of this country, we need to do our part as well because it's our future that we're safeguarding. You know, it's not the government's children that are going to grow up without turtles and in places without healthy coral reefs and beaches. That is our children. On that note, have a great day. Please remember 24-hour hotline 230-0142. We have a number of other calls and I still need to take up all of these dead hatchlings and bury them. I'm just going to bury them because I think it's respectful. So I'm just going to dig kind of a large grave and bury them all, collect the data, and then move on to, I can see.
My name is Sam Shiroff, and I lead sustainability at Enersys, a US-based global manufacturer of energy storage solutions, which includes a battery factory in Newport, Wales. I had the honor of serving as a director of TVE from 2012 to 2016, and I'm thrilled to join you, if only virtually, on this remarkable occasion as we celebrate 40 years of TVE's dedication to environmental awareness and storytelling. TVE has been a beacon in environmental media, inspiring audiences and sparking dialogue across the globe about sustainability, climate change, and the natural world we all share. Reaching this 40-year milestone is a testament to the commitment and passion of so many founders, staff, contributors, partners, and friends of TVE who have brought their energy and vision to this organization. To the team, past and present, and all those who have supported TVE over the years, congratulations. Your work has been instrumental in giving a voice to the environmental issues that matter most, connecting communities and driving change through the power of film. And of course, there's no better place to celebrate this legacy than at the Global Sustainability Film Awards, where TVE's mission comes alive on the big screen and small, showcasing stories that challenge us, inspire us, and remind us of our shared responsibility to protect our planet. As we look to the future, I have every hope that TVE will continue to lead the way in environmental media, adapting, innovating, and finding new ways to shine a light on the pressing environmental issues of our time. Thank you to everyone involved with TVE over these past 4 decades. Here's to the next 40 years and beyond.
Perception versus reality. Ever wanted to know more about the people making our clothes? Come on my journey into their world. Sights, sounds, smells, share meals, experience their lives, their work, making forever better. I am Luke Chakrotny, writer, nutritionist, influencer. My perception forever changed. Watch the full documentary on the Puma YouTube channel.
Wildlife crime is a serious issue. It's a global issue. It's transnational in nature. It's right at the top there with other illegal criminal activities, such as human trafficking, narcotics. Wildlife trade is up at the top. It hasn't necessarily received the attention that's required in order to fight wildlife crime.
Curtis is on a mission.
You know, I tell people all the time that we're in the get done business. Of course, you probably won't print that, but go ahead.
What he's hunting out here in the plains of New Mexico isn't wild animals, but something potentially much more dangerous. Abandoned oil and gas wells, leaking toxic gases into the atmosphere.
Not only is there methane coming out of this well, but this particular well has elevated levels of hydrogen sulfide gas, like really elevated, like 4,000 parts per million. You know, that's dangerous. That's kill you dead in an instant type of gas.
Curtis's specialty is plugging up these so-called orphan wells, which have no official owners. It's estimated there are millions of them across the US, and it's thought they're responsible for as much as 10% of the world's emissions of methane, one of the most potent greenhouse gases.
Well, I'm delighted to be able to introduce this category, and even more delighted to explain a little bit about how TVE started, because it was started 40 years ago with the beginning of Decade of Destruction, the film you'll look at. And Decade of Destruction was produced by an extraordinary documentary filmmaker, and I was involved because I'd recently been made the head of documentaries, and therefore was involved in his programming. He was a little bit worried about that because I'd previously been a senior researcher, and make a leap to head of documentaries was a big deal. And then he told me about Decade of Destruction and mentioned that he'd been away for 10 years. and making this film. And I, with my new job, rather foolishly said that, well, we may not be around in 10 years. So it's difficult to make a series called Decade of Destruction if you don't have the time. And he gave me one of those withering looks and said, well, that's your problem. And so that really was the beginning of TVE. In order to solve that problem, I conceived the idea of a trust called Television Trust the Environment, with the World Wildlife Fund and UNEP, United Nations Environment Programme in Nairobi. And I brought on board to look after that the very first director of TVE, who was Robert Lamb. And he and I, over a 2-year period, set up TVE as a direct result, the need to get Decade of Destruction off the ground. We, in fact, did lose our franchise, and it was regained by an organization called Central Television, so ATV gave to Central. The same management team were in charge, so I was there. But what I was able to do was to put Decade of Destruction and a number of other very good projects into TVE. And that's how TVE began. Some of those projects, many of those projects have not been seen for years and years and years. Decade of Destruction has not been seen in its original way for years and years and years. So I'm delighted you're going to watch it in half an hour's time. So my real job is to announce the shortlist of the documentary impact category. And the films involved in that are
Depuis quelques années, mes voisins agriculteurs en bio ou en conventionnel cherchent à s'adapter au dérèglement climatique, avec chacun leur stratégie. Mais la sécheresse record de 2022 a tout remis à plat.
En tout cas, le ruisseau, il coule presque plus. Ta culture, tu la vois crever, c'est un truc, ça te prend au trip. En fait, la flotte, c'est très très compliqué. Hein.
Dans 10 ans, ce qu'on va produire, j'en ai aucune idée. Un de mes 2 garçons voudrait reprendre la ferme, je ne sais pas si je l'encouragerais.
On imagine même changer la ferme un jour peut-être. Ça fait du sais que dans nos débats, des fois on dit on changera de culture s'il faut changer de culture.
Sans eau, les poireaux, ça va pas trop le faire. Et ils annoncent aucune pluie. Période de canicule, on va monter à 37 degrés, machin. Enfin, c'est ambiance quoi.
Alors est-ce qu'on valide qu'effectivement cette région n'est plus adaptée pour produire des fruits et légumes? C'est compliqué. Le sujet, c'est qu'est-ce qu'on peut produire sans eau?
Résilience alimentaire, c'est pas uniquement l'idée de comment être capable de faire face à des aléas, c'est en fait comment reprendre un peu de pouvoir sur le système, comment reprendre la main sur son système. Enfin, c'est là l'intérêt aussi de remettre les citoyens dans une capacité de réfléchir et de savoir comment ils veulent manger demain, mais derrière comment ils veulent manger, c'est comment ils veulent faire le monde.
From the moment we're born, we're wearing clothes. Who's talking about this?
There was a reason why no one was talking about it.
What we need to talk about is oil dependency, synthetic fibers.
70% made of petroleum-based product.
There's no way to look at a label and see what the dyes are, what the chemicals are. How do we bust that open? All of these probable links to the diseases, does that happen by chance?
The skin is part of the adaptive immune system, but chemicals are not something that the body has become familiar with.
I started to think, this is crazy.
We looked at 73 kids' clothing products. We found PFAS in just about everything.
Arsenic helped achieve this color, one of the first colors produced in a laboratory. Skin lesions caused by this dye.
Do I need it? Where was it made? And should I buy it?
I want to buy that t-shirt.
I assume it's not going to harm me.
One of the things in the world of fashion they really have lacked is to be transparent.
This is the wall here.
If you're a designer and you're trying to do something good, your options are actually quite limited.
But do they understand like what they put on their body could potentially affect their health?
They have to take responsibility by reducing their contribution to global environmental degradation.
There's more than one avenue to sustainability.
He's such a purist and that pure soul and heart and wanting to make a change.
Insight comes when you're outside the problem.
The medical industry they treat symptoms because they don't know causes.
It's going to take a village to change this, but we also need radical disruption.
They thought we were hippies and bad designers.
Jeff makes a point of being able to drink his own dyes.
Can everything be changed in my lifetime? No, but I'm going to swing for the fences.
Fabrics and chemicals that are in constant contact with skin would cause some issues.
This is where prophetic is really important, that we actually get to know what's in that fabric.
The consumer wants to make a difference.
I want to flip the switch back on in people's hearts, and that connectedness.
Okay, Vid. So let's take a walk along the Saturnalia stretch, but beware of slippery foot syndrome and standing in shit and slipping in shit and falling in shit and rolling in shit. Yeah, sorry, Vid, I can't hold your hand now, because I reckon it's the two of us.
My brother Yves grew up at the tip of Africa, surfing the waves of the South Atlantic. Fate, and a cruel pact with nature, brought him to what he calls the holy mountain in the sea.
Look at that, man. Power, power, power! Ah! Ah! The island that shakes, where every man has gone mad! One after the other! I was the perfect person at the perfect time to go to the perfect place, which was in total disorder. My job was to put it in order, and I'm so grateful for that.
I made my way up and into a house built for the guano scrapers of old. There are abandoned nests and carcasses everywhere. All I could see was this complete imbalance, the result of 2 centuries of human greed. There must already be 15,000 seals on this island. My job is to chase them all to the mainland.
I say, gents, yes, what's the deal here, huh? You guys come to mug me or what? One fine little fellow, this one, alias Kingston. Them dirty feet. One day you're gonna see that swim past you, bro. That's the way. Hey, Vid, can you see the island there, my bro? Huh? Check it out. Try a bit of zoom lens there. Yeah, I'm sure you're hungry. Have one of those. You think you're a reflection of me? Or who's a reflection of you around here? Vid, I love you, man. You're the same as me. In fact, if it wasn't for me, you little fuck.
Stephen. He will give us a quick talk on the impact, films as an impact of change. Stephen, we're very happy to have you here. He shot the Oscar-winning film Monster. I'm sure most of us, a lot of us would have seen that, and 70 other feature films and TV shows. Previously, he wrote and directed the feature Last Call with Ray Fans and John Malkovich, and Decoding Annie Parker with Samantha Morton and Helen Dunn, which in fact Serena had also co-produced this film years back. His textbook on film production was the long-time bestseller on this subject. His new novel, Get Rich Quick, comes out in May next year, and his new feature film, GRQ, also comes out in the same year. And applause all yours.
After all those weighty lectures and intellectuals, they brought me to provide a balance. Naturally, when I was asked to speak about sustainability and about climate change, I thought of the film Iron Man, as I'm sure many of you did. And there's a reason for that. I think when you're writing screenplays in Hollywood and Los Angeles, you want to reach an audience because our futures, our successes are determined by the number of people that we can get into cinemas or watching on streaming services. It's tragic, but it is our lives. So when we're writing a screenplay, one of the first things we think about is something we call empathic bridge, which is our ability to reach and connect with an audience by a sense of our shared human condition, a sympathy for our central characters. And we do that by a number of mechanisms and devices, and some may think it's cynical and manipulative, but it is essential because if we don't connect with our audience won't come see our films don't make money, and then remarkably, the kind and altruistic people who control the studios in Hollywood no longer employ us for reasons that we can't fully determine. The second thing is that we have to make sure that these films reach a vast audience, not only by that empathic bridge, which I mentioned before, but by the construct of what our film is about. Our films will be marketed by people who aren't necessarily sensitive artists, but are trying to make sure that the studios that invested money in our project see money back. So we also have developed a science as to what we think will attract vast audiences. And of course the lesson here is that we don't always make the films that we want entirely, but we do make the films that attract audiences, and that is significant. As much as we would like audiences to see the films that we think they should see, they rarely will go to see the films they should see. They'll see the films they want to see. So somehow we have to meld together this idea of how we attract audiences and then deliver the message to them that we think is significant or important. And the third thing we do in Hollywood films is we have fantastic villains. Very often the villains are the people that drive our film forward, and those are the most compelling and interesting characters, in part because I think all of us live vicariously through villains and we wish we could say the things they say, do the things they do, but also because we can offer them a journey. These characters can begin in one place, and then through a series of obstacles or stimuli, or most importantly information, they can be altered and changed and go from villainous to virtuous over 90 minutes or 2 hours. 90 minutes now the preferred length because most people won't sit through a 2-hour film. I guess, again, the question would be, what's all this have to do with Iron Man? And I'm not entirely sure, but I thought it would be a good way to start. But in saying that, I think that when we look at popular film formats, we see that they do attract audiences, as Iron Man did. When Jon Favreau was writing Iron Man, he wrote the opening, and originally, this is the film that began that franchise, which has now made billions and billions and billions of dollars. And rather than opening with the core competency of the central character, he focused instead on a monologue by Robert Downey from a neurotic, deeply flawed terrified, and very vulnerable individual. A very strange way to open a film that was going to provide the genesis for an American franchise. But it was very successful because that vulnerability is what attracted audiences to character. That is what I mean by empathic bridge, and the connection that is significant in the making of all sorts of films, not least the films that we're looking at here. Second thing then was, of course, they used their research to determine all the other things that would attract big audiences, and they succeeded in that, but still always getting back to this concept of empathic bridge. I want to say a second film that you mentioned earlier, a film that Serena and I did together, a film called Decoding Annie Parker, which I wrote 12, 13 years ago, I guess. And it was about a particular virulent type of breast cancer with a high morbidity rate, and the genetic predisposition that a great many women, particularly in certain communities, had towards this terrible disease. We wrote the script, and it starred Samantha Morton and Helen Hunt and Aaron Paul and a big cast. And the film was popular, got a major distribution, but significantly, despite its popularity and its melodramatic elements sometimes, and some of the overwriting that I'm inclined to do, anyone who knows my films knows that I overwrite a lot, but get away with it usually with a good musical score. But what was interesting was the auxiliary successes that film had. We had additional screenings outside of the commercial screenings that we'd intended. We set up a charity in the US, and we had screenings in 32 cities, if I recollect correctly, and we raised something about $10.5 million, I think, for breast cancer charities. We also supported a case where many of you may not know, but this particular type of genetic predisposition required a test, and in America, being a very commercial country, a capitalism, they would charge for this test, and many women who were indigent, couldn't afford to have the test, of course had a higher morbidity rate than those who could afford it. So a very brave woman fought this, and with our support, the case actually got to the US Supreme Court, I think just after the release of our film, and we won the case, she won the case, and now every woman in America can have this test done for free. And I guess our little film has saved thousands of lives. That's the impact that a commercial film, using mechanisms like empathic bridge, the other cynical devices to attract large audiences, can have on an unsuspecting public, which is something that I widely advocate. So what does this have to do with Iron Man? Iron Man oddly provides us an object example of how we can all proceed doing films about important topics, but recognizing by understanding the commercial predispositions of distributors and the inclination of audiences, how we can alter our messaging to have the greatest potential impact, which I think is important. And of course, the other thing is that iron is a sustainable object. It's something that can be renewed, and for those of you in engineering, it has the same tensile strength after it's been recycled that it has when it began. Thank you very much. I always love coming back. Serena and I guess we shouldn't announce yet, are doing another film, shooting in January, February, another feature, and also about a very important topic. It'll be commercial, it'll get distribution, but it'll also be something that will have a positive impact on our shared community. Thank you very much.